Assalamu alaikum and welcome to day 6, mashallah. Congratulations, we're almost at a whole week of Ramadan, subhanallah. It's hard to believe actually. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Welcome and thank you for joining me today on this series, Faith, a Love Story, where we are looking at the different pillars of faith as well as looking at the Quran as we read through it in this month, doing them together. So today we are in the 6th juz' and there's a very important verse that I wanted to focus on. Our title today is Allah, Wallahu wasi'un alim. And that comes straight out of this verse. And one of the things that we have to think about when we're thinking about aqidah, we're thinking about faith, we're thinking about iman, is in this relationship that we're building with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, answering the question, who is Allah? فَعَلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, know that there is no God but He. But we need to know, we've mentioned now every day that Allah knows us perfectly. So in the world of loneliness where people don't know you, they don't really know who you are, and that feeling of not being known, that is a lonely feeling. Allah knows you perfectly. And so it's on us to know Allah. So in this verse, number 54 in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله واسع عليم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to the believers. He's saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O believers. In English, O you who believe, or O believers. Whoever amongst you abandons faith, yartad. So yartad means to turn away from faith, to revert away from faith. And it's a scary, scary thing. May Allah protect all of us and hold us in the beauty of this deen that provides for us in dunya and akhirah. And then Allah says, فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Allah then will replace them with يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَ. Those who are loved by Him and whom He loves. Now, there are scholars who have written about this verse, and I'll complete the translation in a moment, but I just want to pause here for a minute and say there are scholars that have written about this verse. And they say that because yuhibbuhum comes first, and that is that Allah loves them, then we have to know that Allah loved us first. وَيُحِبُّونَهُ. And then we love Allah. That it's first that Allah loves us. I'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. Let's finish the translation. أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So these are now signs of those people, those good people, those loving people, those lovers of Allah, those who Allah loves. أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Humble to the believers. أَعِزَّةٍ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. Firm towards the disbelievers. Confident. يجاهدون في سبيل الله. Struggling in the way of Allah. ولا يخافون لومة لائم. Fearing no blame from anyone. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء. This is the favor of Allah. He grants to whom He wills. والله واسع عليم. So that's the translation. Let's talk about some different parts of this verse. Now, first of all, the verse is so beautiful because it's really fitting right into our theme or maybe our theme is coming out of this verse and others like it, which is reminding us that this story of Iman is a love story. We are redefining the word love. We are refusing this word love to be stuck in Disney and in Hollywood. And we are, in this month of Ramadan, taking this word love and unpacking it and reminding ourselves of the deep spiritual meaning of love. True love is deeply spiritual and is connected between us and Allah Azza wa Jal. And here in this verse, Allah reminds us that first Allah loved us, and then we were able to love Allah. So this is the work. This is the work that we're doing. This is what we're working on this month in all of the worship that we're doing, in the effort that we're doing. And there are 4 qualities that are described in this verse that we want to work on. The first one is humbleness. To be a humble person. أَذِلَّةً عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. To be humble amongst the believers. That means that we don't act arrogantly amongst our sisters and brothers. We don't act like we are entitled to a certain place at the masjid, or we're entitled to a certain parking spot, or we're entitled. No, we are humble amongst our sisters and brothers in faith. And we don't come to them with arrogance, and we don't come to them with shofat al-hal, which means seeing ourselves as more important than everybody else. One of the signs of being on the path of love is that you have humbleness between you and your believing brothers and sisters. And the second one is أَعِزَّةً عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. Now, this one is really important because this concept of being, they translate it as firm toward the disbelievers, means that you are proud of your faith, that you feel a sense of joy and strength in being a Muslim. And you don't go around feeling shy in front of other people that you're fasting, or shy about your identity, or shy about your identity of faith. That your pride, your strength amongst non-believers is your deen. Not hiding it. SubhanAllah, the Muslim woman who wears hijab, I was telling maybe the interfaith people the other day, that something really interesting about Muslim women is that when we live in Western secular society, we are changing culture every day, because a secular culture demands that we don't talk about religion. That's one of the sort of rules of good manners in secular culture. But if you're a Muslim woman who dresses with hijab, wears clothing that shows people that you are a Muslim, and if you're a Muslim man who makes clear your deen in some outward way, then wherever we go, we are telling people, I believe in God, I believe in God, I believe in God, I believe in God. So wherever we go, we are strongly proud of being people of faith. And this is something that is part of being on the path of love, that we're not shy in front of the world, that we are believers. We're not shy that we're fasting. We're not shy that we have to pray. We're not shy about our prayer. No, we're strong about our prayer. When we are amongst Muslims, we are humble and giving and allowing and reminding ourselves always that we are not the best of them. But when we are with the people who are not yet believers, who are not yet on this path, the non-lovers, we called them yesterday, then we are walking in a way, we are feeling in a way, a deep gratitude to Allah. Our love for Allah is greater and stronger because we're strong when we walk amongst the disbelievers. So wherever you are, wherever you live, don't be influenced. Don't be feeling shy. Oh, I have a meeting. How am I going to tell them I'm fasting? No. Be strong about your faith. And the third quality is يُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. So those who struggle on the path of Allah. Struggle and strive. And that's what you're all doing. I'm sure that today you struggled, which means, by the way, that you are working hard on something. So if something isn't easy for you, then you qualify as يُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. What a blessing that is. If it's not easy for you, you're okay. That means you're right here in the place of love, because you're striving and you're struggling and you're working to be closer to Allah, working on your fast, working on your tarawih prayers, working on your Quran, working on your dua, working on your sadaqah, working on your schedule, maybe working on your relationships, maybe working on your loneliness, maybe working on your heart. And the fourth quality, وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. Not afraid of blame, fearing no blame from anyone, fearing no mocking from anyone, fearing no belittling from anyone. These are the four qualities of people who are on this path of Allah. This path of love, this path of love. Now, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah, this is of the blessings of Allah that He gives to whom He wills. Ya Allah, make dua. Ya Allah, make us of those who receive your fadl. Make us of those who have these qualities. Make us of those who love you and of whom you love. Ameen. Now the verse finishes with Wallahu wasi'un alim. And here when we start talking about the names of Allah, Asma'ullah al-Husna, the Quran talks a lot about these names. And at first I was going to give you a list of all of the different names mentioned in this juz'. And there are a lot. Ghafur, Rahim, Shadid al-Iqab. There are a number. But then I decided I'm going to focus on these two for now and really try to take a deep dive into how do we go about understanding Asma'ullah al-Husna. How do we really open our hearts to understanding what do all of these names mean to us, and how do we soak in their meanings? Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Himself in the Quran with clarity, and the first and most important thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes clear that we are not an anthropomorphic religion. We are not we are a religion of Tawheed with every possible underline and bold. Tawheed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly in the Quran separates the nature of God from the nature of humanity. Allahu al-Khaliq. We are makhluk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a creator. We can never compare. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Allahu samad. لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. The last verse. There's none like unto Him. And so it's important to start here when we want to look at the Asma'ul al-Husna, because when we look at those words, we are looking at words that have meanings that we want to relate to, that we want to understand. But we always have to understand that whatever we are thinking, Allah is greater than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in describing Himself in the Quran, when the Prophet ﷺ described Himself for us, and we live in the material world. We live in this world that is what we understand. And so these words have been given to us to help us understand who is Allah, to help us pry open our hearts and be of the people who love. To understand that Allah loves us, and now we have to work on loving Allah Azza wa Jal. When we're talking about the Creator, when we're talking about these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how they are moving us, it's difficult even in Arabic between Arabs to discuss them. So how about if you don't speak Arabic? How about if you're trying to understand these names in a second language? Then how much more difficult is it? And in the English language, when we're talking about these names of Allah, we're looking at translations. We pull up a translation. It's one possible translation. And of course, English has its own semantic. It has its own way of explaining things, its own way of contextualizing things. And that may differ from the original meaning in Arabic, even if we do a word for word translation. So how do we even try to understand that original meaning when we are at a disadvantage and coming with another language? I don't know if you know this about me, but I was an English teacher and a supervisor of English teachers. I wrote English curricula, and I also trained teachers and then was an academic director for English teachers. All of that was about 20 years of work. And so I've done a lot of thinking around the English language and what it means to learn English or learn a language. And so I want to tell you about two words. One is this idea called comprehensible input. Comprehensible input. This means that we are exposed to new words and we try to learn to understand that word as it exists. So when you're learning a second language, it's getting to the point where you can understand that word without a translation. You can understand the word in Arabic, for example, Assalamu alaikum. Muslims who've been Muslim for a while pretty much understand that word. They're not thinking about a translation. It comes to them with its meaning, and they understand it. That's comprehensible input. Then we have comprehensible output, which means that we know how to use the word correctly. And again, Salam alaikum is one of the first that we learn how to use correctly. In fact, there are non-Muslims out there that understand it and understand how to use it correctly, at least on a surface level. We could discuss about how much we understand in the deep sense of it, but the point is made. So when we're talking about the Asma'ul al-Husna, if we're constantly translating them, we are struggling then with comprehensible input. We're struggling to really know, well, what does that word mean if we are constantly dependent on an Arabic translation? What we want is to go deeply into an Arabic understanding, truly understand the word al-wasi', so that we can begin to say, Ya wasi', Ya wasi'. We can call upon that Allah with that name and know what we're saying, know the meaning of the word, and know how it will affect us, touch us, grow us. We can have comprehensible output in our dua. And that's the place where we would find comprehensible output, by using these names in dua. Or, of course, also reciting Quran and seeing them. But comprehensible output, remember, is using the word correctly. So if you're not an Arabic speaker, then where are you using the words? Well, you want to be able to use them in dua. You say, Ya wasi', Ya alim. These are the two we're going to talk about, because they're in the verse. The first one is Ya wasi', often translated as the one who expands, the one who is all-pervading, the one who is wide, all wide. But the meaning of al-wasi' is somehow expressed in both of these and all of these. Let's look at the word pervade, because I don't use that very often in English. The dictionary definition of pervade means something that spreads through, it permeates, fills, suffuses, extends throughout, is disseminated through, flows through, runs through, steeps, saturate, inform, infiltrate, invade, affect. I like the word saturate. It reminds me of Sibghatullah. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ صِبْغَةً. Sibghatullah means the dye, D-Y-E, of Allah. And what is better than the dye of Allah? And that's in Surah Al-Baqarah. And it means that we want our skin, our very selves, the color of it to change according to our belief. Of course, this is metaphorical. But so here when we say al-wasi', and we think about saturation, and we think about that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the pervading one. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we call upon Allah, we can call upon Allah for any aspect of our lives, any part of our life. And that Allah's power with us, Allah's ability with us, this love story between us and Allah means, Ya wasi', that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can widen, can make pervasive, can expand, can spread anything that we need Allah to expand, to grow, to augment, to broaden, to unfurl for us. Now, if we go back to the verse and we say, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these two names are attached to the verse we're talking about, we remind ourselves that Allah asks us to that Allah described those who love Him and that He loves as having 4 qualities: humbleness, proud of our faith, strong and mighty, firm in our faith, having the ability to struggle on the path, and not being afraid of the mocking of anyone. Where do we need expansion? Maybe we need expansion in our confidence in faith. We all live in a secular world. We can't deny the secular world we live in. It's strong, it's harsh, it insists on secularism. It complains about people of faith. And so it can be difficult in this world. If you're the only one in your family carrying the faith, it's difficult. It's hard to have people around you who are not. So what do we need? We need Allah wasi', strength, widen our faith, expand our confidence in our faith, expand our feeling of strength in Islam. And how about yujahiduna fi sabilillah? Ya Allah, expand our energy. Ya Allah, saturate us with energy. Soak us in the energy of Iman. Let us be of those who energy comes. Ya wasi', ya wasi', ya wasi'. Grant us the energy that we need. And then we have Al-Alim. Al-Alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Himself Al-Alim in the Quran more than 150 times. Allah, we have to think about that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not Al-Alim, comes from Ain, Lam, Mim, and it means the one whose knowledge is complete and perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the tiniest of details of all things and the largest picture of all things. The ulama have said that this word Al-Alim includes 4 different types of knowledge. One is the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is omniscient. He is Alim, omniscient here, that He is all-knowing. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. He's the one who, and Alim is a very intense form of this word. That Allah comprehends, knows everything and understands everything with certainty. Remember we said that He knows us better than anyone. Allah knows me better than anyone. Allah knows you better than anyone. You are truly known and truly understood by Allah. All those things that other people don't understand, Allah does. Allah does. Another category of this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no ignorance of anything. So it's similar to what, it's the same as saying Allah knows everything, but it's, when we say it the opposite, we have more clarity. There is nothing that Allah is ignorant about. Al-Alim. So you and I, there are things we are ignorant about. But with Allah, lots of things. Allah, there is nothing that Allah is ignorant about. When we have relationships with people, there's a lot we're ignorant about. We don't know. We think, oh, I know her so well. No, not really. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing. There is nothing that Allah is ignorant about. Nothing. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no learning needed. We need to learn to know. We want to become of those who learn. Maybe you want to be a student or a teacher. All of these are the people who are learning. But to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no learning. Allah knows. He is Al-Alim. Al-Alim. And there is no forgetting. There's no forgetting. He is Al-Alim. He knows, he knew, he will know. There is no forgetting. You and I, we forget things all the time. We forget things all the time. I love that comment, Margaret, that it's so interesting that the secular world is so consumed with being seen by one another. Yeah, that's right. But only Allah sees us fully. Only Allah. He is the only one who is fully in the knowledge of who we are. So again, now if we go back to these four things that the verse is telling us about this story of love. Al-Alim. When we say, Ya Alim, Ya Alim, Ya Alim, how are we growing in these four ways? Because these two names are connected. Let's talk about humbleness. Ya Alim. When we know that Allah knows everything, we should never go before anyone with arrogance, especially not our brothers and sisters in Islam. We should never be arrogant or think, oh, we're better than them or we deserve this more than them. Astaghfirullah. We are, in fact, of those who don't deserve. We are, in fact, fully blessed all the time. We're always getting blessings we don't deserve. Don't focus on your calamity. Focus on your blessings. Focus on your blessings. We have a lovely, one of our sisters here at the Rabata Cultural Center told a story of her grandmother she's a Somali woman, and she lost her daughter, her youngest child, who was 17 years old. At the time, that 17-year-old sister who was 19 was just distraught, as you can imagine. But the mother, the grandmother of our sister here at the center, said to her daughter, this calamity, don't let this calamity, this is her child who died, don't let this calamity overwhelm and overcome all your knowledge of all the blessings Allah has given you. And that's where, when we are humble, we never allow our hardship to overcome the blessings Allah has given us. We never become people who are arrogant or entitled. Also, we say, Ya Alim, because we're not afraid of the mocking or blame of anyone, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Allah is there. Allah is seeing. Allah knows. Allah knows and is taking care of us fully and 100%. I saw somebody in the chat here say that they like the translation for Al-Wasi' as the bountiful one. Yeah, that's nice. It is part of this idea of expanding, of giving, Al-Wasi', of permeating, of saturating. When we put them together, we say, Ya Wasi', Ya Alim, permeate us with the knowledge that we need. What do we need? What is your dua? Permeate us with the love. You loved us. Permeate us with the love for you. And don't ever let us be of those who turn away. Protect us, Ya Allah. Protect us from losing out on your love. This story is a story really of love that is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us, and either we return it or we don't. So when someone doesn't return the love to Allah that Allah has given them, then they are removing themselves from that shade of Allah's blessings and fadl, the blessing of the fadl, the honor that Allah gives us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Wasi', Ya Alim, is giving us and giving us and giving us. And I want your message today to be two things. Remember this path of love. And remember this path of love that we're on. Remember that Allah loved you first. You are loved. You were here on this path. Allah loved you first. You are loved. Hold on to that love and never, ever feel unloved. And remember, if you're not a native Arabic speaker, even if you are and you're not familiar with the words that Allah describes himself with, take time to slow down and deeply learn them. And deeply learn them. There's a question that says, what is the difference between Al-Alim and Ya Alim? It's just the way, when you say Ya Alim, that means we're calling on Allah. And Al-Alim, we're saying the knowing one, the one who knows. Ya Allah, when you're making dua today, remember me in your dua, and remember to say Ya Wasi'. Ya Wasi'. O all-pervading one. O the one who expands, expand our rizq. Expand our love. Expand our good deeds. Ya Alim, O all-knowing, O knower of our states, alleviate all that worries us. And all the other dua that you bring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this beautiful day. Remember to ask, Ya Allah, make us of those who are humble amongst believers, but in your lutuf, make us this way, strong and proud. Give us the energy to work for you, and let us not be influenced by criticism around us. And subhanallah, al-wasi', Allah is the bountiful one, we'll use that word. And so in this month of sadaqah, I'm calling on you to become a donor at Rabata. Give us a direct donation today. Allah, who is al-wasi', will return it to you in multiple ways. In this month of Ramadan, every dollar comes back to you at 700. Every deed comes back as 700 deeds at least. So inshallah, every dollar will come back as 700. Ya Rab. We are 110 people. I'm asking you to have 3 new monthly donors, and let's give me some direct donations as well. Let's try to raise $1,000 today. That means that 100 of you would give $10. So please go to the link, which is rabata.org/support. You can see all the ways to support us there. Or you can see we have people in the chat saying rabata.kindful.com, and you can become a monthly donor, and you can give us your direct donation. Let's hit $1,000 today, and watch out for tomorrow. I'm putting out my new bingo card tomorrow. All right, thank you everyone. Have a beautiful day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you as we go into day 7 tomorrow, 1 week of Ramadan. Subhanallah. I'll see you tomorrow. Rabata.org/support. Help Rabata to continue to do this work and spread this message and support Muslim women and the vision of the rising tide of Muslim women scholars, community stewards, and teachers. Assalamu alaikum.